Ho, what's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larson, and you're listening to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. So here's the real mystery. How do real MLMers like us, who didn't cheat and only bug family members and friends, who want to grow a profitable home business, how do we recruit A players into our downlines and create extra incomes, yet still have plenty of time for the rest of our lives? That's the blaring question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Steve Larson, and welcome to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. All right, you guys, how you doing? Very excited for this. There's a great quote by Robert Kiyosaki in one of my favorite books for this industry, which is, I'm sure you've read it before, or at least heard of it. It's called Business in the 21st Century. Great book, great audio. It's not very long, but it's very, very powerful. I can't remember if it's in this book, in that audio series, that book, or if it's in one of his other books. I've read a lot of books from him. But he said that anytime we begin down an entrepreneurial journey, right? Anytime we start in entrepreneurship and we take that first step forward, we feel good. It's a great, really great feeling, but as you move forward, this is a concept he describes. This is not obviously verbatim what he says, but as you move forward and as you start moving down the entrepreneurial path, character flaws are going to explode in your face. And you're going to get all these things that start coming up in front of you going, you know what? Oh, man, I really don't like talking to people. It's like, well, you might need to get around that before you can move on. And that's what he says. He says, as we move down this path and as we start walking down the path of entrepreneurship, what ends up happening is these character flaws explode in our face and they actually stop us from progressing overall. They take us and they say, nope. You're stopping at the pass right there. You're not going to move on. And you're not allowed to, basically, you don't move on until you somehow address it or get around it or fix it, but you can't move forward. And I started experiencing, when I first started MLM, I first started experiencing some pretty major character flaws. I realized that I didn't have all the knowledge I needed to actually be successful with it. And that was almost reassuring for me to actually realize was that, oh my gosh, I don't know enough. I don't know enough. Rather than go, at least I knew what the problem was. I had to start learning. That was 4 years ago when I first joined MLM, and it was about 4 years ago now. At that time, and all these character flaws that, like I said, started popping up, and I realized, okay, A, number one, I don't know enough. B, I'm way too afraid to speak. And C, what do I even say? How do you come up with a message? What is marketing in general? And you've probably felt, I'm sure, right? You've probably felt some of those experiences before, or felt some of those feelings in your life and in this business as you move forward. And I started studying. I hit the books, right? It was right around the time that I decided to exit MLM. I hadn't exited yet, but I was getting to that point where I was so fed up with home meetings and hotel meetings and going and trying to figure out, what's the next way for me to get someone on the phone and how am I going to, how can I corner the next person? I didn't know how else to do it. So it was by sheer brutal force, that I was going and talking to all these people. And like I mentioned in the last podcast episode, people I know, sadly, are still a little bit mad at me for that. And I just didn't know any better. It is a character flaw of mine. I had to overcome those things. So I hit the books, right? And I hit the books and I started staying up. I was in the middle of college at the time, and we were in this little tiny apartment, and this little tiny apartment. It was freezing. Like, it couldn't get very warm sometimes at night, and my wife would go to sleep, and she would she was pregnant, or she'd be with the newborn or whatever it was, and I felt this inner desire. I had to provide better. I wanted to give her a better life. And so what I would do is I would stay up till like 3 a.m. every single day, but I had class at like 7:45 a.m. So I would sleep usually about anywhere from 3, 4, 5 hours every day, and I did that for months and actually even years, because I knew what was funny is that I was going to college for marketing. I was going to go get, I was working for a marketing degree, but none of the stuff I was learning in college seemed to be any help at all. I actually wasn't learning how to market in my marketing degree. And I was like, what is going on? And so I started taking the books from the best minds out there, and I started going, and it was this ferocious pace. I was hungry to go figure it out, because I felt the need to provide and feel like a man, but but B, I really, really had to provide, obviously, because we had this kid coming that was on the way. And so I started studying, started hitting the books. I was up super late. And I remember this experience. I'd always sit at the kitchen table, our little kitchen table in our freezing apartment, and it was always very dimly lit, at the time. Like, you look back at the crap moments in your life sometimes with this almost bittersweet. You're like, oh man, that was such a refining period of my life, when I was going through all that. And I remember I was sitting on the couch and my wife had gone to bed. And I was going to go to sleep, but there was an ebook. I don't even remember what the name of the ebook was. I remember the guy's face, but I don't know his name. I don't know the name of the ebook. I don't know. But all I remember was this single concept. I remember that I got fired up and I sat down and I started reading. It was just on, an iPad, and I was reading through this ebook and I was like, whoa. This is a different take on MLM than anyone's ever told me before. What is this? This is amazing. And it sucked me in. And I think I started reading at about 11 and I was just reading ferociously till, 3 hours later at 2 a.m. I remember I put it down and I couldn't go to sleep. I was like, whoa. This is totally different. This is a completely different approach towards MLM and actually recruiting people without feeling like you're bullying them, finding people who are good. And what he was talking about was this concept called paid prospecting. Paid prospecting, meaning you get paid even while you're prospecting people. Now, for me, at first, I was like, man, that sounds like almost too good to be true. That's intense. Holy crap. And I remember sitting on the couch. The lights were off. It was totally dark. I didn't want to turn them on. And I just sat there and I just thought like, that dude figured it out. And he was showing all the people he had been recruiting, and he was showing all, showing his big fat checks on stage and showing all this stuff. And I was like, how interesting. Like, I'd like that. That'd be kind of cool. But what's this paid prospecting thing? How did he actually do that? And it changed my mindset. It changed the way I look at the industry. It changed everything about the way that you'd think I remember the guy's name. I believe in giving credit where credit is due, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember his name. I still don't remember his name. I don't even know if I could go find the ebook again, but it was the concept of paid prospecting. And I was like, wow, interesting. That's fascinating. And I started getting hungry again for the next thing. I was like, okay, so now I know this thing about paid prospecting. How do I actually do that, right? And I thought to myself, why don't I go look and see what the top MLM leaders out there are actually doing? And guys, this was the craziest thing. It was the biggest realization I've ever had. It's just, this is nuts. I sat down and I started going person by person. I think I literally just Googled top MLM leaders. And for weeks, I went on this really deep dive. And I got a whiteboard out and I started, I would basically draw out all the different things that they were doing. And I was like, hey, let's go look at this person. Let's go look at this person. And I was looking at all the top MLM leaders. And you know what I noticed? Not one of them was doing home meetings. Not one of them was doing hotel meetings or phone meetings. Not one of them. I was like, what is this crap? Like, how come? I actually got mad about it. I was like, this is total garbage. Why is my upline telling me to do this when none of the actual top guys do that stuff? What's the deal? And I felt gypped. I actually felt a little bit pissed off about it. And I got kind of mad. I was that guy. And, that was a character flaw of mine. I had to overcome kind of like knee-jerk reaction, pissed offedness, And I was like, this is total garbage. And I started looking through all the different things they were doing and why is that guy being successful? And that's weird. He doesn't do home meetings. My upline tells me that's the only way to do them. What about that guy over there? And I started drawing out all the similarities I was seeing between all the top people. And this pattern started to emerge from the paper and from the whiteboards and from the notes around me and all the books. And I was like, what? No way. This is so cool. This is totally different. I've got to figure out how to actually make this work. And I went and I started putting it all together, and this was the pattern. You guys ready for this? I'm going to give you massive nuggets. This is only episode number freaking 2. You better keep coming back because I'm giving you guys gold right in the front, and I'm really excited for you. I feel so passionate about this because I feel like so much of the marketing tactics out there in MLM is so stuck in the 90s. It's so much for an older generation, which is fine, but most of the time you drive away all the younger generation when you use those tactics. Straight just, I'm a millennial. I'm not very good sometimes, face to face with people. I love stage presentation. I do it often. Did an awesome one with, I just spoke at 2 different events. It was a lot of fun. Sometimes I don't totally want to go speak to people. Like my wife always makes fun of me. She's like, how come you can speak in stage in front of hundreds and go for 3 straight days teaching stuff, to people who've paid 10, 15, even 25 grand? How come you can do that, but you can't have people come over and have a normal dinner with them? And I was like, I don't know what it is. It just gives me anxiety. Like, and it kind of freaks me out. So what I'm trying to share with you guys right now is that if you feel those feelings also with me, I found out how it works, and this is what people were doing. I would go and I'd start looking at all the people who were number one, right? And almost every single one of them had their own website or web presence. Whether it was on it wasn't just a Facebook page. They literally had their own website or what I call a sales funnel. It wasn't just a website. What they would do is these guys would go out and they would offer education for free. And they would say, hey, here's some really cool education. And then what would happen is there would be, after they'd take the free education, the next page that it would bring you to, rather than like hey, thanks so much, the next page instead was actually a page that would be like, hey, if you like that free stuff, what goes really well with this is this CD that will help you, learn how to speak better. It's $7. It's really cheap, but if you want it, it's a great companion with that. Well, I was like, well, shoot, yeah, totally. I'd love to get something like that. You know what I mean? So then I was like, yeah, awesome. Well, after that, it was like $49 for the thing that taught you how to do, the next thing, and then $120 to do the next thing, and then $1,000 to come join them to do something else, or you know what I mean? And that's what I call a sales funnel. And as I was watching these guys and I was watching what they would do, they wouldn't work with anybody who didn't pay them money. And it's not because they were greedy, it's because they needed to sift out the people who were serious and the people who weren't serious. And if somebody's willing to spend $7 versus someone who's not willing to spend $7, right there, the mentality, the person who's willing to invest in their education, the mindset of the individual willing to spend just $7, totally different person that pulls into your world. And that's what paid prospecting was. And paid prospecting became this thing. I was like, oh my gosh, these guys are getting paid prospecting. And what's crazy is that they get paid regardless if someone actually joins. And they go out and it's not a lot of money, but what it does is it sifts out all the people who are time wasters, people who weren't ever really going to do it, people who were joining their MLM just to be nice versus actually trying being successful. Does that make sense? It sifts out and creates somewhat of a filter and a barrier, and it protects the top MLMers' time. It protects their money. It protects their own downline from getting people in there that are leeches, kind of like the people that I had. And it's not to offend you by saying, if you're like, hey, I'm kind of one of those people, that's okay. It's easy to fix that. Just, take action. You won't be a leech anymore, and that's what they were doing. And I realized that they were taking all of these pieces and they were putting them together. And if someone bought the $7 thing, even if they didn't buy anything else, that was the person they were prospecting to. They were making the person raise their hand on their own and vote with their wallet and say, this is what I want to be, and they were having and putting together what I call sales funnels, and what they're commonly known in the internet marketing industry now. So sales funnels. And I was like, I bet I could build that. And that's what I started doing. It's super, anyways, very, very fun when I started doing it, and crazy, ridiculous results started coming with it. Now there's a lot of challenges that come with that. There's the tech side, there's a lot of, I grew up around computers like crazy. My dad was was an executive at IBM. I mean, we did a lot of stuff with computers, so I had a little bit of an upper hand with that. There was a lot of tech stuff and it was, it can be challenging to put that kind of stuff together, but I went through and I put it all together and I was like, interesting. So I want to tell you a little more about that, but it'll probably be for the next episode on how I actually put it together and what I put together and why, and specifically the pieces and aspects of it. But anyway, that's probably for another time. But just know that the big, massive realization that I had was that holy crap, you guys, top MLMers don't go bug the crap out of people in malls. They don't. you shouldn't either. It's not how this game works anymore. Maybe that worked for a while, like a day or two. I don't know. That could not have been long. And I'm not saying there haven't been A players recruited that method, but it's way the squeeze is not worth the juice. You know what I mean? How hard you have to work for that. In my opinion, I want my time back. I want to spend time. Now I have 2 little girls, a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I would love to be able to spend more time with them. She's almost 4, which is awesome. But anyway, and then the other realization I had is that, man, all these tactics, they really are all the things that my upline, the guys that are crushing it, the guys that are actually making, $10,000 a month, that are doing really well or even more. A lot of them, they were still teaching me to go be their lead gen and go make big lists of family members and friends and just bring people to them. That's a great deal for them, but that's not how you grow your own thing, And anyway, yeah, the belief that I had that this crushed for me was that I needed to bug family members and friends, and I finally found a way around it. And I'm very, very excited to share more of that with you. So anyways, if you like this at all, now please, there's a really cool thing called the MLM Masters Pack that I'm giving away for free, and I'm being totally vulnerable, totally open and honest, and showing you guys, pulling back, kind of the screens and showing you all the things that I'm doing to actually create automated systems. And it's a training you can show your whole downline. I don't ever pitch or even talk about my MLM. You will never hear the name of the MLM that I'm in on this podcast. You're just not going to you're just not going to hear it. And it's because I want you to feel, if you want to stay in your own MLM or a network marketing company or home business or whatever you want to call it, that you can. That's fine. I'm okay with that. My whole goal is to be able to just help you understand what actually works and what helps you recruit A players into your downline so you can be successful with it. And so that's pretty much it. So if you're interested in that, go to secretmlmhacksradio.com. And guys, I'll talk to you later. This was an awesome one, all right? Hey, I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback for me. Do you have a question you want answered live on the show? Go to secretmlmhacksradio.com to submit your question and download your free MLM Masters Pack.